Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I just can't believe what's happened to the coastline here at Stockton Beach at Barruby Point. It seems as if a lot of the sand dunes to the right have been washed away, and the coastline has moved further west to what it has been in the past. It's been raining today. There's a bit of cloud out there. There could be a bit of rain heading towards me. So what I'll do is I'll try and punch out a book summary as quickly and as effectively as I can, whilst keeping an eye on the weather and on the waves. And the book summary that I want to go through today is entitled Open, and it's very timely to do a book summary called Open because we currently have the the US Open being played out, and we're about halfway through it at the moment. And this book is all about Andre Agassi. It's his autobiography, and hopefully we can learn a little bit more about what made him tick and the challenges that he faced during his career 20 or 30 years ago, to hopefully give us a taste of how tennis is from the inside out, how competitive tennis is, and to appreciate even more the great feats of those great players such as Venus and Serena Williams. Serena Williams yesterday played her final match of competitive tennis, and it was an absolute honour to watch her as a 40-year-old still being very, very competitive and very entertaining indeed. So let's go into this book summary and see where it leads us and what we can learn. So apologies if there's a bit of wind buff happening in the background, but as I say, I'm coastside here, the wind is blowing in, the waves are crashing in the background, and it is a very full tide indeed. So this book kicks off with a quote from Andre Agassi, where he says quite clearly that life will throw everything at you, and it's your job to avoid the obstacles, because if you let them stop or distract you, you're not doing your job, and failing to do your job will cause regrets that paralyze you more than a bad back. Really, really inspirational quote that is, and very, very profound indeed. So basically he's saying that as an elite sports person, as a leader in your field, you've got to expect that times are going to be tough, and that life is going to throw spanners in the works on a regular basis. But to also acknowledge and recognise that it's your job as a professional, as a person who has great talent, to manage your way through and around those obstacles, and not to let them distract you, because later on in life, when you're looking back, you'll be kicking yourself and you'll hate yourself because you didn't do anything about it when you could have done something about it. A powerful, powerful message from Andre Agassi. So this book takes you through Agassi's life from his early childhood years to his later years when he was one of the greatest players in the world. And we learn from this book that Andre Agassi had a rough childhood because he had an overbearing father who was obsessed with grooming his son to be a tennis star. So yet again, another example of a bully of a parent who bullied their prodigy, their son, the person with talent, to the point that almost break them spiritually, physically, mentally, and socially as well. But like all stories, there's a great ending to this one here as well. At 7 years of age, we learn that Andre Agassi practiced tennis every single day against a tennis machine. So he didn't have his father hitting the balls at him. His father manned and his coach manned a tennis machine which fired at him over 2,000 balls a day. The book says that he had to hit, on average, on a daily basis, 2,500 tennis balls. And because he was a good boy, good son, because his father was so overbearing, he never ever resisted his father and did as his father requested. And for Andre Agassi, he says that tennis camp, when he'd go on a tennis camp, it was like being in jail, where he was cut off from the outside world. He'd often rebel, but we must always remember that he was also very, very talented at the same time. So we go on to learn a little bit more about Andre Agassi, and he says here that he struggled with his tennis fame for much of his life, which is really, really sad and really, really troubling just to hear this, that he was a great player, he had great skill, great talent, but he struggled for most of his life. And his greatest struggle of all was his feeling for the game, his feeling for tennis. And we hear that other players have also had similar sort of issues throughout their lives. I note just recently that there's quite a few players, and more so these days because of social media, have had a number of issues over the years that has caused them to struggle with their tennis over the years. So much so that Andre Agassi hated his tennis. He felt hollow inside. He never ever felt that he had his own identity. Lendl called him a haircut and a forehand, and felt depressed after losing. He took drugs, and he eventually divorced with Brooke Shields. I better head back because it's starting to rain. So he's had his challenges. He had a father that caused him issues. He had coaches that didn't treat him well. And he had a marriage which was not productive or fulfilling in any way. So he had a rough trot, to say the least. Anyway, I'll head up to the car, so just bear with me for now. And it'll be a bit of buffeting as we get up closer, but I'll get out of the wind shortly and hopefully be able to continue and complete this important and interesting vlog for the day. Bear with me. Okay, I'm out of the wind now, so I'll continue my vlog from this little hidden position here. So the next point that we have to talk about is that Agassi found purpose when he founded a tennis school, and finding a good partner helped him make a surprising comeback. So the key lesson, I guess, from this book is that we should never ever give up hope, and there's always another opportunity to have another go. So he found himself, after setting up at school a risk, is it a risk school in LA? He felt his poor education caused him to miss out on something. And by going back to school and improving his education, help free him from his feelings of self-loathing. Steffi Graf also had similar challenges. She too had a tough father. She won the US Open and the Australian Open. So once again, a lot of these great athletes, sadly, have come from family environments that are not all that productive. But even though they're not productive, they end up, I guess, delivering a particular outcome. But the big question is whether or not that outcome is worth the suffering in the first place. But Andre Agassi is an example of somebody who was able to turn it around with Steffi Graf by getting better educated and by opening up his own tennis school. And he was able to transform his life. But he makes an important point here, a really good point, and I think we can all benefit from this point as well. What Andre Agassi says is that he didn't really transform. He puts a different spin on it. And what he says is that rather than thinking that people are transforming, he's basically saying that we're all work in progress at any point in time. And all we're doing is we're on a path of growth and development. And, you know, there are ebbs and flows, there are straight lines and hills and valleys. And we all need to go through those different aspects of our lives. We need to take those different paths in order to become a better product, a more completed product, a finished product. So we're never a finished product from the beginning. Now we're a rough diamond, and through life we continue to hone and to shape our destiny and our persona, both physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, socially, you name it. There are so many aspects, so many angles, so many pieces to our puzzle that, you know, we need to complete it, we need to build it, and it takes a lifetime for most of us to get there. So everyone is in a state of progress. That's a very, very important point and a powerful point from this book. One of the key themes, I would say. So he's honest and raw, which I love about him. And he says that at the end of the day, he still is working on finding what he really wants. And he's still growing and developing and will continue to do so, which once again is a very, very profound point, something that we all need to accept, something that we all need to appreciate and understand, because if Andre Agassi is like that, then it makes sense to think that we're all like that. You know, we live, 60 we may live to 70 years of age, but the reason why we live so long is that we can continue to grow and develop. We can continue to become one with God. we can continue to reflect on who we are and improve on who we are, given the experiences, the unique experiences that we all face and that we all share. And that life is a salvific journey. You know, we have suffering, we have pain, all of those things come into our life for a reason. And that reason is to help us grow, help us develop, and help us become purposeful with our lives so that we can be the best version of ourselves that we can be. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It just goes to show you how quickly the weather changes this time of year. We are still in La Nina, from what I understand, and it may be another wet old summer. The gardens won't complain, but what I have noticed, as I said, is a big change to the coastline up here. It seems to have gone more this way. The ocean here has eroded the sand dunes, and the sand dunes look much lower, much smaller, not as impressive as what they've looked in other years. And no doubt things will change with time. The winds will come back, the ocean will change its movements, and the sands will continue to move, continue to change, just like they always have, and just like they always will. So a wonderful, wonderful day to be out and about. Haven't been up to Nelson Bay for a while, so I've come up here with Paula just for the day, just to check things out, to do some things for the apartment, and to head back once again to Sydney tonight. And I'm back at work tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves, and may the best player win the US Open in both the men's and the women's in the doubles. I note that Nick Kyrgios is still in there, which is great, and we'll see how he goes. Take care, Yassas, and bye for now.